Council.
This is the Happy Hour.
You guys going to happy hour?
Coming at you live from the heart of Lincoln, America.
Yeah, I'll come for a couple.
Here are your hosts, Nick Sainert.
I want to know what it's like to commit a crime without having to spend time in jail.
And Enrique Alvarez Clary.
C is for chunk.
Brought to you by Empire Fence and Netting on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Welcome in. Happy Wednesday. This is the Happy Hour, 93.7 The Ticket, theticketfm.com. Nick Sainert and Enrique Alvarez Clary hanging out with you guys. Rico, what's up?
Hello.
How's it going?
Happy National Signing Day.
It is.
To everyone but football.
For everybody but football. It's National Signing Day. Husker men's hoops got Eli Rice, a 3-star out of IMG Academy. He's officially in. We will break down a lot more.
Yeah, there's a lot going on. I've just been, if you go to my Twitter at Radio Rico AC, I'm just retweeting every time somebody signs to a sport that pops up on my Twitter for Nebraska.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of softball, a lot of volleyball, basketball, 2 women's basketball, and some soccer.
Yeah, there's a
so
lot.
far.
There's a lot of excitement around, obviously, volleyball, which we will get to in the middle segment.
Yeah,
here,
we'll get to that.
because we just have to talk about the talent that's coming in this class in 2023.
Because it is wild.
But as you guys know, 402-464-5685, the Honda of Lincoln hotline, the Starter Heyman text line, both those open for you guys the entire show today, as well as the Starter Heyman Jewelers video stream, Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter. All those avenues open for you guys to incorporate your thoughts in the show. Got a doozy of a first segment here. Lots of thoughts as this quarterback controversy, if you want to call it that. I think that's an accurate word to use because
it's the weirdest quarterback controversy
involving backups.
Yeah, that's the thing.
If we had to take a guess, if I had to take a stab at it, I would assume that Casey Thompson is going to be unavailable on Saturday against Michigan. So
that's what it sounds like.
So with that thought going forward, we had turned our attention once again to this whole Chubba Purdy, Logan Smothers debacle, because we heard from Mickey Joseph yesterday kind of talk about how he and Mark Whipple need to figure out this offense a little bit more, how they need to, if they're running the ball, successfully, they need to stick with it, especially against a team like Michigan that can basically do anything. They can beat you. Bill Bush talked about it today. They can beat you, obviously, on the ground game with one of the best running backs in the entire country, in Blake Corum, who's getting Heisman votes. I would even go as far as saying, in terms of national respect, compared to, while taking into account Chase Brown and Mohamed Ibrahim, Blake Corum gets more than them.
Yeah, I would say that Blake Corum is probably. Blake Corum is definitely the most well-known Big Ten running back outside of Big Ten circles. Like if you ask somebody if you ask anybody who isn't, plugged into the Big Ten, who the best running back in the conference is, Blake Corum's name is going to be right there.
Well, and so it's Blake Corum, right? And the reason that it's probably not Travion Henderson, Travion's been banged up quite a bit.
Played a lot.
He's been banged up quite a bit. Mayan Williams has been kind of taking over that starting role for Ohio State. So that's why Travion Henderson, obviously, the former 5-star recruit out of Virginia, is not talked about as much as he has been in years past. But here's the thing, Blake Corum. So just to kind of give you guys an idea of how dangerous Blake Corum is, a lot of Husker fans will probably remember him from the game last year. But this season, 199 carries, 1,200 yards, 16 touchdowns. Averaging on the season 6 yards per carry. This guy, and here's the thing.
That's disgusting. That's a disgusting of an average. And the fact that he has 60, the fact that Chase Brown, I believe, still leads the country in rushing yards and only has 6 touchdowns, whereas Blake Corum has 14. It's just wild. It's just a crazy stat to think of, that he's not even leading the country in rushing yards. He's averaging 6 yards a carry.
Well, and I would add this. You might be saying, well, Nick, Rico, it's because they played some crappy non-con opponents. He has gone over 109 rushing yards in every single conference game. He was held in conference action this season. He was held to his fewest amount of yards last Saturday against Rutgers. He had 20 carries, 109 yards, 2 touchdowns. Let me just read off these statistics here. First conference game against Maryland, 30 carries, 243 yards, 2 touchdowns. Against Iowa, 29 carries, 133 yards, a touchdown. Indiana, 25 carries, 124 yards, and a touchdown. At home against the 10th-ranked Penn State Nittany Lions, 28 carries, 166 yards, 2 touchdowns. Against Michigan State, 33 carries, 177 yards, 1 touchdown. Then, like I said, last Saturday on the road at Rutgers, 20 carries, 109 yards, 2 touchdowns. And in the non-con games, here's what's funny. Like he's under 100 yards in all 3 of them, but it's because they were blowing out their opponents.
Yeah, he didn't need to run a lot.
No. So, like, here's the thing. In non-con games, he barely played it at all compared to nowadays. 13 carries in the first game, 9 carries in the second game, 12 carries in the third game. Still had 76, 88, and 71 yards, respectively. So, here's the thing, guys. Michigan is 9-0. In their 6 conference games, I guess we can just...
You're going to math it out?
We can just do this. So he has 952 yards rushing in conference games alone. So in conference action...
I don't want this.
Do you even have a guess with all those numbers? Yeah, per game.
He's averaging 6 on the year.
Yards
I'm going to go...
game.
Yeah, I'm going to go... Is it over that?
No, not yards per carry.
No, yards per game.
Yards per game.
In just conference. 177.
Close. 159.
Ah, dang it.
Blake Corum is averaging 159 yards per game. And think about this, just on the scale,
on
to bring it back to Nebraska, to bring it back and tie it back into the Huskers. We freaked out going in or after North Dakota when Anthony Grant was averaging 120. We freaked out.
That was great. We were like, they're committing to the run.
We freaked out.
That's what they're doing. Nebraska's running the ball. It's great. Can you imagine what this state would be like if their running back was averaging 150 yards per carry after 9 games?
Yeah. 159 per game in conference play alone. In conference play alone, Blake Corum, which you could argue are the more difficult games, right? Blake Corum, the starting running back for the Michigan Wolverines, averaging 159 yards per game. 5'8", 210-pound junior. He's magnificent.
Remember when he was sharing time last year?
Yeah, with
they were splitting reps at running back.
I can't remember the name of the guy.
I don't either. I'm not even going to pretend. Okay. I'm not even going to pretend to remember. But he was splitting time at running back, just like they were splitting time at quarterback. And now they've got their quarterback, they've got their running back, and you're sitting there looking at their offense like, oh, this is nice. This is what you could have had last year if you would have just committed to J.J. McCarthy and Blake Corum. Although their other running back was also pretty solid. But if I remember correctly, Blake Corum did most of the damage for them last year.
In 2021, he had 144 carries for 952 yards, 6.6 yards per carry, 11 touchdowns. He hurt you more in the passing game last year.
He was their pass back.
24 catches, 141 yards, and a touchdown. This season, he only has 8 catches for 37 yards.
I wouldn't pass it to him either. I just hand it off to him. It's a lot quicker to get the ball to him.
That's right.
You're just giving
Hassan Haskins. Thank you, Dirty Tony and the boys.
Thank you.
That's right. It's awesome. I mean, it's crazy. Downtown Scott says Corum came out as a surprise against us, didn't he? We can go back to his 2021.
I don't believe so. I think they were splitting time the entire season and
game log.
Blake Corum. Blake Corum might have been the one that hurdled somebody in the Nebraska game.
So here's what's crazy about it. And as we got pointed out on the text line, we were splitting time with Hassan Haskins last year, who's in the league. Here's Blake Corum in the first couple games. 14 carries for 111 yards, 21 carries for 171 yards, 13 carries for 125 yards. In those 3 games, he had 8 touchdowns last season. In the first 3 games of the season. So then they still decided to not go with him as the starter after those 3 games. Against Nebraska, honestly, for Blake Corum, I'd be thrilled if Nebraska is able to hold him to this statistic this Saturday. 13 carries, 89 yards, and a touchdown. I would be thrilled.
Terrible.
It is bad. But yeah, no, I mean, Downtown Scott says I just meant we were focused on Haskins and Corum gashed us big time. I think so. I mean, yeah, well, yes. You, I mean, you were worried. You were worried about a lot of guys on Iowa last year, Michigan, Iowa. What
that was
world?
That was a weird.
That was weird. Against Michigan last season. But once again, 402-464-5685, the Honda Lincoln Hotline, the Starter Heyman text line. Tomorrow will be Michigan Day. We'll dive deep. Jimmy Watkins of the Omaha World Herald will be joining us tomorrow to talk a little Husker hoops. But in the first segment, we'll dive deep on Michigan. So, all right, let's go ahead and dive into some of the stuff that we heard over the last couple of days since we didn't get to it yesterday from Mickey Joseph and then today from Mark Whipple. And getting into this backup quarterback, debacle conversation, if you will. Let's just go ahead and start it out with this. Yesterday, Mickey Joseph was asked, what do you have to do this week against Michigan to be successful, especially when Anthony Grant was running the ball so well and you as a team weren't passing it well or catching it well because you had a lot of wide receivers that were dropping them quite often. And he answered that he said, we have to do a better job. And he was asked, who is we? And he said, he mentions conversations between he and Whipple.
I hate when that happens.
We, me, the coaches, the kids not calling the plays.
Right.
We are.
So is that a conversation you have with
Absolutely.
Whipple?
We had that conversation.
How'd it go?
That's between me and Whipple.
So there you go. Just as simple as that, which, I mean, it's good. There was no doubt that there's going to be conversations that are being had and need to be had because
it's necessary.
First of all, you'd be more concerned if there weren't conversations. And second of all, Nebraska needs to figure out something if they even want to have a remote shot at getting a bowl game. They need to win out. And
I mean, your offense
is a tall task this weekend.
Your offense has been kind of stagnant without Casey Thompson in there. So, yeah, there's definitely conversations that need to be had between the offensive coordinator and the interim head coach. So the fact that they are having the conversations isn't surprising, but it is good to hear. And, we don't need to know those conversations, what came out of those conversations.
Here's what's interesting is over the last couple of weeks when we've seen more Chubba Purdy than Logan Smothers, and that those decisions have been criticized, and because of how things have turned out and the play has been on the field, probably rightfully criticized. And the decision making to keep, to stick with Chubba Purdy at times rather than going with Logan Smothers, who might have a little more experience, has been at Nebraska more, maybe a little bit more of a dynamic player, although we did see Chubba Purdy was able and capable of using his feet to a certain extent.
You can put him up and put him down.
It was weird how last Saturday kind of unfolded because we came into that game specifically thinking, all right, there's probably going to be a little bit of both. We're probably going to see a little bit of both in Chubba Purdy and Logan Smothers. Logan Smothers, obviously, in our eyes, going into Minnesota was the better runner, and Chubba Purdy, in our eyes, going into Minnesota was the better passer, as we all kind of know and have known for a while or believed. And then you saw how the game kind of unfolded. And Chubba Purdy, on one hand, happy feet in the pocket, what just never got comfortable, never looked comfortable.
No, he didn't look
which was a build off of the previous game.
Yeah, he didn't look like he was very prepared to be in that situation. Not prepared. It just, like you said, he didn't look comfortable in the pocket with everybody, all the bodies going around him and the offensive line trying to get blocks. I know that there was talk about how Donovan Raiola was upset on the sideline because at one point Chubba Purdy didn't step up into the pocket because the offensive line had created an area for him to step up. He didn't step up. He tried to roll out. I think that might have been one of the 2 sacks that one of the 4 sacks, 2 sacks on Chubba Purdy that the defense got.
Well, and I guess let me take a step back for a moment. He looked comfortable on the first drive where they used a heavy dose of Anthony Grant.
Well, you know exactly where you're going to go. The plays are scripted on that first drive.
Exactly.
You know who's going to get the ball. You know where you're going to throw the ball. You know exactly what's going on. But then after that, you gotta you're playing against whatever the defense is throwing at you, as opposed to this is what we're going to do and this is where you're going to go with the ball.
Well, and if you remember when we talk about scripted plays. I want to pull up if I can get it quick enough, I want to pull up the Nebraska Northwestern, because you'll remember this offense and this offensive staff more specifically has been just fine when it comes to the opening drive of either the first half and or the second half. And I mean, I'll never forget in the game against Northwestern,
that first drive.
The first drive for Nebraska was as smooth as butter. I mean, it was gorgeous.
2 deep passes on the right side of the field.
Yeah. And you had a little bit, you had Trey Palmer who caught the first ball of the season. Then you had the complimentary football with Anthony Grant as well, going with Casey Thompson. And then they struggled. They sputtered. Mm-hmm. And then coming out of the second half, Nebraska had a good drive right out of the locker room because, once again, you were able to script plays. You were able to make those initial adjustments in the locker room. And that was under Scott Frost. So then you change the head coach and you go interim with Mickey Joseph. And now what have we seen these last couple of weeks? You've been able, same story, just different game, different head coach. You've been able to script plays out of the locker room. And then the second half, you sputtered. You don't have the back end of coming out strong in the second half, but it's been extremely frustrating. And you could argue that the most comfortable that we've seen Chubba Purdy all season long was in the first drive of the game last week when they handed it off to Anthony Grant 8, 9, 10 times. If I can't remember the specific number. So then, like I said, it was weird how it unfolded last Saturday to where Chubba Purdy looked to use his feet more than anything. Then Logan Smothers, when he had an opportunity to get a 3rd down and 5 with his feet outside of the pocket, he neglected to run the ball, and he wanted to show off his arm. And then it brought up a 4th down, and he eventually got the great ball with an even better catch on the connection to Marcus Washington.
He did come out after the game and say he should have run the ball. He wasn't really sure what he was thinking in the moment. He believes in his legs. He knows he could have got that 1st down, but in the moment, I mean, I don't know what's going through your head when things are, the bullets are flying, things are live, you've got bodies flying everywhere, and you have a chance to get a 1st down, but maybe you're thinking, if I don't get this and I had somebody open, because if he would have put a little more touch on it, that might have been a catch and a big gain. But the next play, they end up getting the 1st down regardless.
Yeah.
But that situation is burned into people's memories.
Yeah. Well, and here's the deal is when you are in the middle of a quarterback conversation and you have 2 guys that aren't necessarily playing all-star football, every little thing that they do is going to be put under a microscope, and the negative plays will be magnified and the exceptional plays will be covered up by the bad plays. So you kind of have to take what you see with a grain of salt, I suppose, because like I said, everything's going to be put underneath a microscope. Here's what's interesting. We always hear about guys being gamers, and I want to play a quote from Mickey Joseph and Mark Whipple here before we kind of wrap up our conversation. Are we going to be joined by Lincoln?
We are going to be joined by Lincoln Arneal in the next segment to talk about the National Signing Day for volleyball, signing the number 1 ranked class, and I think signing five ladies to be a part of the Huskers team next season.
Yeah, okay, so we'll get to Lincoln here in a couple minutes, but let's put a bow on this topic. Mickey Joseph was asked yesterday, Logan Smothers practicing versus games. Is he a gamer? Here's what Mickey Joseph had to say.
You're right. I think Logan's more of a gamer, but he's got to practice better, and he understands that. And Logan is really going to attack this week, trying to be a better practice player. That's his goal this week.
Now, today, Mark Whipple was asked, hey, did you hear Mickey Joseph talk about how Logan Smothers might be a gamer? And here's what Whipple had to say about that.
Well, tell Mickey he should be at the defensive side more. No, he really had his best week of practice, and both those guys have had their best week this week. Chubba's been a lot more consistent throughout, but I told that to Logan. I said I had a lot of respect for you. It's not easy to maybe start a game and be 3rd, but he stepped up during practice and he's continued that, and he's certainly been around here longer than Chubba has. But all the guys both those guys have gotten great support from their teammates.
So
I don't know what to make of those.
I'm gonna play Mark Whipple's quote again real quick in a second. Before we do, I want to read off the season statistics for both guys.
Yeah,
Chubba Purdy so far this year, 16 of 34, 91 yards, no touchdown passes, 3 picks. He's also ran. Now I've taken sacks out of it. So it's taking a little bit of math because in on ESPN it adds the sacks into rushing yards. Chubba Purdy without sacks, 12 carries, 54 yards on the ground.
Okay, and a touchdown, right?
Yes, and a touchdown this last weekend. Logan Smothers, 6 of 11 through the air, 81 yards, So he has completed 10 fewer passes than Chubba Purdy and has 10 fewer yards.
He's attempted
23 fewer passes.
Jeez.
All right, much higher percentage.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, smaller scale.
Yeah, less attempts.
Yeah, less opportunity.
Yeah.
0 touchdowns, 0 turnovers. No interceptions, no fumbles.
Mm-hmm. He did fumble, but they recovered it earlier this season.
I believe so.
I
might be wrong on that. Either way, 0 picks. Let's just do that. Logan has 8 carries for 27 yards, not counting sacks. I want to bring up that Mark Whipple quote again, because if you hear it, he mentions Logan Smothers for a moment and then instantly reverts back to Chubba Purdy.
I don't know what to make of
and
this.
I don't want to read too much into it.
Oh, no, we're definitely going to.
But here's the deal. The fact of the matter is Mark Whipple and the staff, I guess, clump them all. Because to an extent, I suppose you can put the blame or put, associate it with Mickey Joseph. So
it's on everybody.
This staff, this offensive staff,
yeah,
has elected to stick with Chubba Purdy in times where maybe they should have given Logan Smothers a shot. And here we are after a game to where Logan Smothers, from a quarterback standpoint, game manager standpoint, managed the game better than Chubba Purdy
at a high level.
Has not been injured like Chubba Purdy has been. Has not turned the ball over through the air as Chubba Purdy has. Is throwing for a higher percentage. Has just a little bit of fewer yards, and has also been here longer.
He has more in-game experience.
You also have to add into the fact that when you're talking about playing a backup quarterback and you are a team like Nebraska that is so fragile that once one thing goes bad or one negative thing happens,
snowball.
You need ball control. And ball control and holding on to the football is the most important thing in my mind in this situation that Nebraska's in. So that interception number, as well as mechanics and how they look and what decisions they make, really matter more than anything else, in my opinion. But yet, once again, we hear Mark Whipple revert back to how Chubba has had the best week of practice as well.
Yeah, I don't want to put words into Mark Whipple's mouth or just I don't want to put words into his mouth, but listening to this quote makes it sound as if Mark Whipple's saying, look, Logan's played really well, he's practiced really well, but we're still going to go with Chubba. We're still
go ahead and play it again, and
Chubba.
we'll stop it halfway through.
We'll tell Mickey he should be at the defensive side more. No, he's been in. No, he really had his best week of practice, and both those guys have had their best week this week. Chubba's been a lot more consistent throwing.
Stop. There you go. Like that's where
he says that Logan's been more consistent, and then he has to make sure he throws in Chubba's also been consistent, and then he starts talking about Chubba Purdy and not Logan Smothers. When the question was specifically about Logan Smothers being a gamer and playing better in games than he does practice. And from a coaching standpoint, it's understandable if you do go with the person who's having the better week of practice than the guy who maybe isn't showing up as well in practice. Just because you show up in games, you still have to show up in practice and show the coaches that you're understanding it, that you're getting it, because how are they going to be able to have faith in you and believe in what you're going to do during a game day if you haven't shown it during the week in practice? And I know that sounds a little silly given that Chubba Purdy barely practiced before the Illinois game and they still throw him out there, but I mean, I understand from a coaching's perspective why that would be your thought process.
I just don't. Here's the thing. Once again, and this will be the last thing we mention because we're going to get to Lincoln in a couple minutes tardy, but that's all right. Hopefully Lincoln understands. Here's what's crazy about it is we always talk about insanity, and over these last 4 years, there's been a lot of things regarding insanity, doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. And nobody, myself included, are expecting Nebraska to be competitive for the entire 4 quarters in this Saturday's game. Maybe competitive is the wrong word. Have a shot to win it. Be in a position to win in the final minutes of the 4th quarter.
I
would be shocked. They can be competitive, but there's just there might just be a talent gap.
I would be
as
surprised,
well as just a physicality gap.
And I know this is going to sound dumb, but I would be surprised if Nebraska isn't in it at halftime. It seems as if every team that Michigan has played is in it at halftime, and then Michigan turns on the Jets.
Well,
that second half is going to be crucial.
It is. Well, let's look at Nebraska's last couple games, Rico. They've held Chase Brown in check in the first half. They've held Muhammad Ibrahim in check in the first half. Mm-hmm. It's been in the second half that Nebraska's gone away from whatever's been working for them, and the other team has not gone away from their identity. So here's the deal.
Make subtle changes.
Bingo.
And Nebraska sticks with what was working.
I agree.
But it doesn't work against the changes that the other team makes.
So here's the thing. I do not, and I'm worried about that we are. I do not want to be in a position in the post-game show on Saturday saying, once again, for the third week in a row, that this staff stuck with Chubba Purdy too long. Mm-hmm. Or even vice versa, because this is not a Chubba Purdy thing. This is not a personal vendetta against Chubba Purdy. You can even go vice versa and say if Logan started, that he didn't have it. It's very obvious right from the get-go that we say they stuck with Logan Smothers too long. And there's, as we've said, Rico and I have talked about it this week so far, there's no strict line or firm, solid line that you can stand on and say, if he doesn't have this many yards by this point in the game, you got to pull him. It's got to be a feel thing. It's got to be the ebbs and the flows of the game. And that's, here's the thing, as brutally honest as we can put it, Mark Whipple, you've been in this thing long enough. You always talk about your past experiences, your past jobs, your past stories. Prove it to us that you know how to manage a game in the moment.
You know what a quarterback who has it looks like.
Yeah.
You know if a quarterback is comfortable and in the game and is going to be able to have what it takes coming down the stretch. You've been in the game long enough. You've coached enough quarterbacks. You know what that looks like. But it's time to show it. It's time to show up and show everybody that you can do it.
So once again, all right, let's go ahead and get to break. When we come back, we'll be joined by Lincoln R. Neal, covers Husker volleyball. It is signing day, the 2023 signing class. We'll get more in depth with it with a guy that knows it way better than I do, Lincoln R. Neal. 2023 class includes the number 2, number 4, number 5, number 7, and number 13 overall players for Husker volleyball. An absolutely loaded class. They've signed the number 1 class twice in the last 3 years. Last year was the exception, but they had the number 2 overall class in the country, so not too far of a step back.
Darn.
Let's get back on the happy hour here in a couple minutes. We'll be joined by Lincoln R. Neal on 93.7 The Ticket.
Follow Nick and Enrique on Twitter at Nick_Sainert and at Radio Rico AC. More of Happy Hour is next on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Vershawn Jackson for Brandt Excavating. Brandt's been in business for 29 years, and they specialize in a variety of things. If you're looking for someone to get the job done in precision demolition, excavating, trucking, mass grading, and site prep, Brandt is the place to call. To set up a quote or learn more, call Brandt Excavating at 402-474-4113 or go to BrandtExcavating.com. They're also hiring, so join the team today. Brandt Excavating, a part of the Bauer brand, who reminds you, go Big Red!
Wow. Did you ever save me money on my car?
Yes, that's why our customers keep coming back.
How do you do it, friendly car dealer ?
We simply have low overhead and high trade-in values. The next line's yours.
Oh.
Ready for something better? Mullen Motors is a no-hassle, no-pressure dealership with financing available. Check out the inventory at MikeMullenMotors.com.
No taglines, just quality vehicles. Mullen Motors.
It's tailgate season. Why would you bounce around from place to place for all your beverage needs when you could have it all in one place? Wine, Beer, and Spirits has everything for your parties with their 3 locations in Lincoln, Grand Island, and Omaha. It's the largest liquor store in the state, and here's the best part. You can get a drink from their bar and walk around with it as you shop for all your tailgate necessities. Locally owned and operated, it's Wine, Beer, and Spirits on North 27th Street in Lincoln.
The Empire brand is growing with ESC fabrication and sandblasting. ESC is your place for custom handrails, industrial and commercial painting, and more. ESC provides custom welding for aluminum and stainless steel and media blasting of all sorts. ESC is great attention to detail. They stick to deadlines and keep within your budget. If you can dream it, they can make it. Contact ESC Fabrication and Sandblasting in Waverly today at 531-207-9329.
Your home should not be a zoo to unwelcomed animals. Let the experts at Bats to Rats take care of those problems. Dane has been a leader in wildlife and pest management and prevention in Lincoln and the surrounding area for 15 years. He can help you get rid of bats, rodents, and anything else. Whether it's residential or commercial buildings, schools, apartments, or churches, they're always a phone call away. Call today at 402-310-0904 or visit batsterats.com. Bats to Rats Wildlife Control and Prevention.
People always ask, what are Jake and Sip like when they're off the air? Well, the answer probably won't surprise you.
Hey, Jake, your Honda's looking a little dirty.
Says the guy whose license plate is barely visible.
I mean, do you even care about that thing anymore?
It gets a little uncomfortable. Now, that's when I jump in.
Hey, whoa. Mark, did you get a new car?
Nope, just took my car down to Nebraska Auto Detail. Joe and the staff made the outside and the inside look amazing. Maybe you guys need to go. Okay, wise guy.
Settle down, Jake.
Book your appointment today at nebraskaautodetail.com.
Bagels and Joe is happy to introduce the new Joe Card. Get unlimited drip coffee from all 5 locations, including the new Seward location, for just $8.95 per month. Start your mornings off right with a breakfast sandwich and unlimited coffee from Bagels and Joe. Start your Sundays off right with Jeff and Nicole Essink on Fitness Fanatics. Jeff and Nicole discuss health and wellness, how to achieve fitness goals, and more through the life of gym owners and gym goers. It's Fitness Fanatics from 9 to 11 a.m. on Sundays on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Hi, Sean Callahan here for Koppel Chevrolet GMC, and things are rocking in Louisville. We've got transport showing up every day with loads of new inventory, lots of new trucks, SUVs, and crossovers. Our pre-owned inventory is also filling up fast. Our GMC Terrain inventory is really filling up fast, so we're putting special pricing on those right now. This is the time to check out our GMC Terrains, as we've got all models with a great selection of colors at a discounted price. So please stop in or check them out online at koppelcars.com. You'll be glad you did.
You're listening to the Happy Hour with Nick Sainert and Enrique Alvarez Clary, sponsored by Empire Fence and Netting on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
All right, welcome back into the Happy Hour, 93.7 The Ticket, theticketfm.com. Nick and Rico hanging out with you guys as always. Let's transition to volleyball here it is signing day, and I want to get to the top-ranked volleyball recruiting class here in a moment with Lincoln Arneal of Huskers Illustrated, who joins us right now on the Honda of Lincoln hotline. But Lincoln, you were at the press conference yesterday, and for the folks that might not know, Huskers volleyball has their 300th consecutive regular season sellout on Friday against Iowa before they travel to Columbus to take on the 6th-ranked Buckeyes on Sunday. John Cook gave us a little bit of a history lesson yesterday. How awesome was that story of the transition from the pavilion to the Devaney? I mean, how awesome was that story for you, Lincoln?
It was pretty cool. I mean, John liked to, he dug into the history books, and he was very hesitant to go over to the Devaney Center, and had to get maybe a little slap on the wrist saying that we'll take care of you. And that comes from that scolding comes from Tom Osborne. You listen up. So, but I think they've proven that was the right move, and really the sellout streak has continued and continues to be one of the more impressive feats in college athletics.
The thing I took away from that those comments that he talked about how the sellout streak begun when he was talking to the Beef Club, and then obviously the move from the pavilion to the Devaney, was that I realized that since day one, when John Cook got here, he's had this vision of what he wants to make Nebraska volleyball. And it's now coming to fruition nowadays. Is that kind of what you understood from that?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think he wants to be the best program in the nation, and also really wants to grow the sport. And I think he realized in order for everyone to have Nebraska reach the pinnacle of where he wanted to go, you got to raise up other programs. And I think he's been really good about that too, of just raising the sport as a whole and pushing other programs to not be fine playing in their small 1,000-seat arena in front of a handful of fans too. I think, and that really, you see that happen in Nebraska with pushing the envelope as far as crowd, as far as game day atmosphere, as far as amenities, as far as support that student athletes receive here. The crowd is just kind of part of the overall vision that Cook's had for the program since day one, to make everything the best possible experience for fans, student athletes, and the program.
All right, Lincoln. So Nebraska signs 5 ladies to the volleyball program today. All 5 going to be playing in the 2022 Under Armour All-American game, which is just crazy. A lot of them have experience playing with each other on the under-19 U.S. team. They played with Becca Alec, Maggie Mendelson. All of these ladies have experience playing with each other and have experience playing, extremely high-level competition. But my question for you is, out of these 5, who is the one that you're most excited to see next season?
Oh, that's a great. Oh man, all of them. But I think that the biggest one that I think really excites me. I mean, Harper Murray and Bergen Riley really kind of set themselves. I mean, they're the 2 highest ranked, but watching clips of both of them play. I mean, Bergen Riley played with the senior national team as a 17-year-old high school senior, which is unprecedented, really. But what the physical attributes that Harper Murray brings, I mean, she is just an athletic freak, can jump out of the gym and just also had just a whip of an arm that really kind of adds another element to her game, too. So I'm excited to see both of those 2. If I had to pick, I'll give the slight edge to Harper Murray as being the one I'm most excited about. But I think there's a level of excitement with all of them.
We're joined by Lincoln Arneal of Huskers Illustrated, covers Husker volleyball for Huskers Illustrated over there. And we're talking about the recruiting classes. The Huskers sign the number 1 recruiting class in the country. They get the number 2, number 4, number 5, number 7, and number 13 overall recruits in the country here in 2023. And John Cook, or excuse me, they Nebraska announced that all 5 of the recruits will enroll in January. How much of an added benefit is it to have these players on campus all at the same time, number 1, and all so soon?
I think it really helps. I mean, you see the difference it's making with players like Becca Alec this year too. I mean, she came in, had that starting job from day one. Maybe wasn't expected when she enrolled in January, but it put her in position to capitalize off that too. So, I mean, we'll see what the makeup of the team is at the end of this season, whether or not we have players come back for a 5th year or if there's any transfers. But I think it puts all 5 of them in position to really compete and contribute to next year's team. And there may be a few open spots too. I think the person who maybe has the most clear path is probably the libero defensive specialist, Lainey Choboy, because I think there's a definite role for her if Kenzie Knuckles doesn't come back. She can kind of slot into that second defensive specialist role and really provide a lot of defensive kind of another cornerstone to Nebraska's defense.
Now, you mentioned that she might have the best chance coming up, but my question, and I don't know if this might be out of line or anything, but Bergen Riley, as you said, she played on that U.S. women's national team, coming in as the number 4 overall player, number 1 setter, according to prepvolleyball.com. And with the lack of playing time we've seen from Kennedy Orr, is there any way that Bergen Riley has a chance? I mean, there's always a chance to come in here and be the starter day 1.
Oh, definitely, for sure. I mean, when I say Laney is the clearest path, I mean, but I think when Bergen comes in, there'll be a good competition. Hopefully, Kennedy will continue to work, and we'll see what kind of develops up. And Ani Evans has put a good showing this season too as part of the 6-2. But I know John Cook likes to run the 5-1. And I think Bergen really, with her international experience, playing for the national team, and what she's been able to do at the high school and club level too, really kind of puts her in a good position too. I mean, she's also another 6'1", another kind of physical presence. I mean, she's playing outside hitter for her high school team, and then has racked up more than 1,000 kills in her non-natural position. So she is an athlete out there, and very physical as well too, which I think is what you need to do to run a 5-1, is have a setter who can be physical at the net and not be somewhat of a defensive liability as part of that block.
So Lainey Choboy, as you mentioned, her coming in and having an impact. She was a recent commit, and now she's a signee. They a flip from Minnesota. Do you know what went into her decision to flip from Minnesota to Nebraska?
Yeah, it's kind of, there's Minnesota head coach Hugh McCutcheon announced a couple weeks ago, maybe in a month, sometime in October, that this would be his last season, that he'd be stepping down. I don't know. Hopefully there's not any health issues, but he did announce that he would be kind of stepping down from the program. And that kind of opened up possibilities. I think a couple other players looked around. I know they have a couple other commits said they were going to stick with the Gophers, but she kind of that uncertainty opened things up for her. She took a visit to Texas, took a visit to Nebraska, and just I think liked the culture and liked the fit, which she knew a lot of the players here at Nebraska from playing with the junior national team, and everything kind of lined up and presented opportunity where they can add when you can add the number one libero recruit in a week before signing day is a bonus, and it's kind of a really coup in the recruiting world.
All right, Lincoln, last one before we let you go. We appreciate you joining us on kind of short notice here. We're joined by Lincoln Arneal of Huskers Illustrated as we're talking about the signing class. One thing that John Cook did mention yesterday in the press conference was with the move to the Devaney Center, not to bring that back up again, they didn't miss out on a whole generation of volleyball of fans because they do have an older crowd that didn't want to give up their seats, and understandably so. How does that attribute to the club action being so strong and being such skill here in Nebraska? Because if you look at the state tournament that just happened last week, you have obviously Olivia Mock, who's a Nebraska commit and one of the best liberos on in the entire state, and you had players from Scott going to Michigan, players from Elkhorn North going to Purdue, I believe. I mean, talk about the talent in the state of Nebraska and how wildly good it is.
Yeah, and I think that it all kind of plays into just the culture of volleyball in the state is important. And when you can get more people to go to a match, you bring in young kids when they're. We talked to Lindsay Krause yesterday too. She talked about going to her first Husker game at 12 years old and just kind of being awe of that experience, and maybe kind of back of her mind wanting to be part of that. So I think that adding that extra opportunity, doubling the size to 8,000 people per game, really opens up and kind of lets people see, hey, here's an attainable goal. If you put the work in, you kind of have some natural talent, you could be part of this too. And I think that even if they don't end up going to Nebraska, that's kind of the downside is Nebraska high schools are starting to feed a lot of the Big Ten competition and other programs across the state. You see Creighton's doing well. UNK and Wayne State are doing well in Division II. It's kind of fed a lot of the success and the program. And the question is now, is 8,000 too small? I don't know. Tickets are sold out now all year round. Is 8,000 too small? They need to expand now.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's a good problem to have, though, if you're in Nebraska and if you're a Husker volleyball fan, and more importantly, if you're a part of this program like John Cook is. All right, Lincoln, appreciate the time as always. We'll definitely talk to you down the road.
Yeah, thank you, Lincoln. See you,
boys. Thanks for having me on. Have a good one.
Yeah, see you at that 300th consecutive sellout at Iowa on Friday.
Oh yeah, big party going on.
Thanks, Lincoln. That is Lincoln Arneal of Huskers Illustrated. Appreciate his time. As always, I'm sure as the season's winding down. Yeah. They only got a couple games left in the regular season. We'll definitely cover it through the entirety.
As it stands right now, their goal was to be a top 4 seed, one of the 1 seeds in the tournament. I think as it stands right now, they're still in line to do that, but I think they'd be the last 1 seed. So we'll see how things shake out. And if this Big Ten season continues the way that many people expect it to, then they should stay in that top 4.
Well, here's what's interesting. It's you don't want to look forward, obviously, because especially you have a big one on Sunday on the road at number 6 Ohio State. But looking ahead,
you went 5 with them earlier this season at the Devaney.
But looking ahead, you have on November 25th at home on Black Friday, you have the Wisconsin Badgers coming back in to your house now this time after they swept you. And frankly, brutally put, you played pretty poorly that game on the road to Wisconsin. Not Nebraska-like. So November 25th, not to look too far forward, in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 games, you will have the Wisconsin Badgers coming in and very well could be, if Nebraska takes care of business like they should or expect to in these next couple games, could be for the Big Ten title. Let's go ahead and take a break. When we come back, we'll be joined by Eric Strickland and Nathan Brennan for the crossover as usual as we wrap up Wednesday's show on the Happy Hour.
Download our app by searching 93.7 The Ticket in your app store to stay in touch and listen all day long wherever you are. More of the Happy Hour is next on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Gaina Trucking is hiring CDL Class A and B drivers. Gaina Trucking guarantees a 40-hour work week year-round, and their strong team culture makes it not a job, but a career. Gaina Trucking offers health, vision, and dental insurance, 401k with company match, an employee assistance program, and other bonus programs. Build a better career today with great team culture at Gaina Trucking. Learn more and apply today at GainaTrucking.com.
The Empire brand is growing with ESC Fabrication and Sandblasting. ESC is your place for custom handrails, industrial and commercial painting, and more. ESC provides custom welding for aluminum and stainless steel and media blasting of all sorts. ESC has great attention to detail. They stick to deadlines and keep within your budget. If you can dream it, they can make it. Contact ESC Fabrication and Sandblasting in Waverly today at 531-207-9329.
Hi, Sean Callahan here for Koppel Chevrolet GMC, and things are rocking in Louisville. We've got transport showing up every day with loads of new inventory, lots of new trucks, SUVs, and crossovers. Our pre-owned inventory is also filling up fast. Our GMC Terrain inventory is really filling up fast, so we're putting special pricing on those right now. This is the time to check out our GMC Terrains, as we've got all models with a great selection of colors at a discounted price. So please stop in or check them out online at koppelcars.com. You'll be glad you did.
Vershawn Jackson for Brandt Excavating. Brandt's been in business for 29 years, and they specialize in a variety of things. If you're looking for someone to get the job done in precision demolition, excavating, trucking, mass grading, and site prep, Brandt is the place to call. To set up a quote or learn more, call Brandt Excavating at 402-474-4113 or go to BrandtExcavating.com. They're also hiring, so join the team today. Brandt Excavating, a part of the Bauer brand, who reminds you, go Big Red!
College football in Lincoln, America. The time has come. Start your game day off right with the A1 Automotive Ticket Tailgate pregame show. Join the ticket crew live from Tipsy Tina's in the Haymarket as they bring you all the coverage you need to get you ready for the action. It's the A1 Automotive Ticket Tailgate pregame show on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Brought to you by A1 Automotive, Mullen Motors, Wall to Wall Wine and Spirits, Bauer Underground, Ben Bleicher with Professional Realty Group, and Ritchie Brothers.
93.7 The Ticket. Fox KFXL weather. Sponsored by John Henry's Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning.
Another warm and windy day as we'll see south winds gusting 35 to 40, an afternoon high of 74. Very late tonight, a cold front moving through will bring a chance of showers and thunderstorms. We'll see a low of 45, a high of 51 tomorrow, but temperatures falling during the day. I'm meteorologist Tim Wright for 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Tractor Supply Distribution Center in Waverly is holding a hiring event this Friday and Saturday. Stop by between 10 a.m. and 1 p.m. on either day to learn more about their opportunities for your next career. Tours and interviews will be conducted both days. Wages grow up to $20 per hour. Make plans to attend Friday or Saturday at 12851 Dover Street in Waverly. And if you can't make it, you can always apply online at tractorsupply.jobs. Tractor Supply, for life out here.
A good game with good friends. But isn't it time to up the score when it comes to the food? Wings and Rings is here for every football fan. Catch the game on one of their big screens or snag a tail great pack to go. They're cranking up the heat and throwing in mad flavor this season. Stop by your locally owned Wings and Rings on O Street, Meridian Park, or 48th and Old Cheney in Williamsburg Village, or grab some crave-worthy Wings and Rings to go. Make them your go-to destination to watch your team bring home the win. Wings and Rings. Game time just got better.
Trendy or traditional, Gary Michaels Clothiers specializes in men's tailored clothing. Off the rack or custom made to measure, there is simply no better shopping experience. Offering designer furnishings, sportswear, shoes, outerwear, and accessories for a man always concerned at looking his best. With world-class tailoring and personal service, all makes Gary Michaels Clothiers Nebraska's premier store for men. Come visit us now at Village Gardens, south of 56th and Pine Lake Road in Lincoln.
Get a lot of advice about self-care these days, but one of the most important self-care steps we can take is making sure we're financially secure later in life. For small steps you can take to save for retirement, visit WeSaySaveIt.org. A message from AARP and the Ad Council.
You're listening to The Happy Hour with Nick Sainert and Enrique Alvarez Clary on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Welcome back into the happy hour, 93.7 The Ticket, theticketfm.com. Nick, Rico, Strick, and Nate now join you guys on the crossover. We're working to get Strick's camera so you guys can see his good old face.
You don't need to see
his
this
beautiful
ugly
face.
mug.
His beautiful face.
Mug. All right,
Ugly
so
mug.
here's this, guys. Okay, I want to talk. I do want to talk Packers football for a moment. But before we do you guys believe that Nebraska is the biggest underdog this weekend?
Of all football?
What if I told you that Nebraska was the third biggest underdog
I
this
was about to
weekend?
say, there's no way they're the biggest.
Well, Alabama plays somebody.
Now, here's the deal. Third biggest Power 5 versus Power 5
Oh, okay.
spread.
Yeah, I was about to say that sounds about right.
I believe it.
30
Yeah,
and
I
a
believe
half
it.
points.
30?
Here's the
They
deal.
get
It went up a point. 30 and a half now.
I believe that.
Here
I would
is
not.
Hey, listen. I'm betting
Michigan.
yeah, no.
You bet Nebraska cover?
Yes.
This is a game I would not touch.
I'm betting cover.
Yeah,
30 and a
this
half
one's-
is a
That's a
lot.
lot.
That is a lot of points.
So here's the deal.
Who's playing quarterback?
Here's the look at the biggest spreads of the week in all of college football. Biggest spreads of the week in all of college football. Ohio State is a 41-point favorite over Indiana. USC
Were they less against Northwestern?
I'm not
38.
In Northwestern almost.
But here's the thing.
I
You
won't
have to
say
remember
one.
about the weather. You have to remember about the weather.
Hey,
that played-
Northwestern had to play in the weather too?
That's what I'm saying. That's why it
Facts.
wasn't such a big spread.
Oh,
Is that
well,
it-
Northwestern was
you're right, you're right.
38, so it was only 3
Yeah.
points less.
Okay.
yeah.
It was at
Northwestern covered.
It was at Northwestern
Easily.
too,
By
so
14, yeah.
That's your 3
Easily.
points.
Here's another one. The second largest spread, USC is a 34.5-point favorite over Colorado.
I take
Ooh,
Colorado.
that is.
I take Colorado
Where's it? Where's it at?
It just says over Colorado.
because they were 25-point
Is it-
favorites over Cal, and Cal almost won.
Is it at Colorado or is it at the
I'm not
Coliseum?
buying USC.
I'm not buying USC either. I know
might-
Rico is.
Man, it's
No.
gonna. Hey, Strick's
Or maybe
picks.
that's Bach.
What's the picks this week? I gotta come in and get the picks this
Yeah,
week.
you gotta
I'm
get
not touching none of those.
Those are gonna be on there.
Tag.
No,
that's-
you can't tag.
Yank tag.
No,
I'll
no,
tag.
that's the thing with our picks is we pick the games that nobody wants to touch. So
Nobody wants to touch.
so those two are on there.
Yeah. And then obviously Michigan
touch
is
Friday.
a 30.5-point favorite over Nebraska. So
I might be.
I like-
absent Friday.
I like USC's offense. Their defense is garbage, and they haven't beaten a team currently ranked in the top 25 because their only
Really?
ranked game
Utah,
opponent
right?
was Utah, and they lost.
Yeah.
Oregon State was ranked when they played. Oregon State's
No, they
been
weren't.
fluttering, or excuse me, Oregon State was not ranked, but they've been fluttering in and out.
Doesn't count.
Yeah, I'm not considering that.
Come on, Nick.
Yeah,
Doesn't count.
That's a reach.
Don't try to give
I'm not
That's
a
a
USC
reach.
fan. I'm not a
See
USC
that. That's a
fan.
Don't try to give
reach.
USC any credit.
No,
It is
Bach
in
it
here.
is-
Where's Bach?
It is at
You
USC.
roast him.
He was look. I
He's
was
a big USC
I would
guy.
have given
He's
him
into
his.
the playoffs.
I was giving him his SEC bias thing, and he was
We
He
need
was
to put.
trying to-
We should have. Oh,
I would.
he was trying to cover for all these teams, and I'm like, man, because I was like, how is Alabama still in the top 10? He goes, well, they play in the SEC, and I go, I don't care. They have 2 losses.
We should have put box stuff up there for USC.
Here's the
Because
deal.
he goes in
We
on
should've-
everybody else.
And
We
he was
should've
going to
put
go
him-
undefeated.
Yeah. So now Michigan is now a 31-point favorite.
Oh, it went down. It went up again.
Yeah.
The
It
thing
was
is,
30.
though,
It was 30. It went up to 30 and a half earlier today.
I also don't like if I had to bet, I'd probably say Nebraska, just because that's so many points.
That's a
But that's a
lot.
game like someone's betting on Michigan heavily, and they're savage.
Is that a
Because
game?
what are we doing?
Is that a game where if Michigan does go up big, that they take their foot off the gas?
No.
Negative. They're
No,
trying to.
They're showing
trying
that
to
they
do-
believe that they're spotting for a
Oh
playoff.
yeah, you're right.
As well as
They have
here's the
to.
thing.
Style points.
They need to
have
think
to.
about the body of work, because if/when they lose to Ohio State in the end of the season, they're going to be still fighting for a playoff spot as a one-loss team.
and they haven't played anybody.
They haven't played anybody, so they need to blow out
Hey.
everybody.
Yeah, I want to
Which
be on.
makes me
I-
nervous.
I want to be with you on that when Ohio State beats them, but Michigan, that ball control offense, and the fact that they can run it whichever way they want to run it, they keep it away from Ohio
Can
State.
Ohio State not do that?
Ohio State's look kind of bad. the
Travion
past
Henderson
couple
ain't
weeks,
healthy.
Mayan Williams is one of the best running backs in the conference,
Yeah, but he
and
could-
he's the backup.
Yeah, but he couldn't run against Northwestern.
though.
I don't
And
care about you. No, no,
they
no. I
were
don't care
down
about you whether
against-
that's a run.
They were down by
That
Penn
part.
State at half,
I'm with Rico.
and they almost
Mayan
lost
Williams
to
had over
Northwestern.
100 yards rushing against Northwestern.
But
What are we talking
But you
about?
only won
It's
21-7.
But you can't be cracking down on Mayan Williams. Can't saying that he can't run the ball when he runs for over 100 yards.
I'm
Like,
not saying he
that's
can't run the ball. I'm
How
saying
many
that
carries?
how many
19.
For 100 and what?
111.
Against Northwestern.
Ohio State.
Blake
also
Corum would have gone
doesn't
for
look great.
250.
Anthony Grant ran for 101. Like, what are we saying here?
I'm not talking about that. I just
So
don't
you're
think
telling
Ohio
me
State's
Mayan
look
Williams
great.
is only 10 yards better than Anthony Grant? A little suspect.
I just don't think they look good.
I think Penn
Ohio
State at half, Nick, and then you barely get by Northwestern. They just haven't looked great. They're still Ohio State, but they just haven't looked great.
I think
they will beat Michigan by double digits.
I think I might
put that on the board. I will bet chicken wings on that. With anybody.
I'm not going to bet against that, but
with anybody.
They just haven't looked great. All right. Oh, here we go. Double bet. Chicken wings.
It's at Ohio State.
Uh-huh.
Ohio State will win by double digits over Michigan.
Okay.
Bet.
It's not happening.
I'm talking about double digits, like over 14.
2 possessions. They win by 2 possessions.
Okay.
No.
All right.
Okay.
We will write
Are
it on
you
the
at
board.
15?
We will write
For
it.
chicken wings?
No.
How many chicken
double
wings?
digits is 10
wings?
I do have chicken wings.
No.
Double digits is 10 points.
No. I said
Strick.
2 touchdowns.
Strick.
Double digits is 10 points.
Strick.
Come
2
on.
touchdowns, my boy.
Strick.
This ain't basketball.
I said
10
double
points
digits.
is 2 possessions. That's
No,
a touchdown and a field goal.
I'm not taking that. I'm
Strick.
not taking that. How many chicken wings are on the line?
A dozen.
A dozen?
Okay.
All right.
That's fine.
10 points counts, Strick.
The chicken wing bet.
Double
I can't
digits.
believe you read
We will write it on the
Michigan
board.
goes always.
Let me
going
ask you
against
this.
Strick,
Let's
Michigan's
play
gonna
Vegas.
win.
Let's play Vegas. What's the line?
Yes.
Ohio State 9.5.
Stop the cap. Stop the cap.
Ohio State 5.5.
I'm going to say 7.5. I'll say 7.
I'm going 10 then. Bet. It's a bet.
So double digits?
Double digits.
Okay.
Okay.
We heard it. We will
Chicken
write it
wing
on the
bet.
board.
Chicken wing bet has been placed.
Ohio State's going to be
write it on
favored.
the
So
board.
they have to win by 11.
They have to win by 10 or more.
Ohio State's going to be favored.
Double digits. If they win by 10, Strick, they win by double digits.
Strick, what are you
Unbelievable
doing?
right now?
Strick, what are you doing?
Let's pause 10 seconds for station identification on the happy hour here.
This is Lincoln's home for sports talk on the FM dial. Also online at theticketfm.com. On the internet. KNTK FM Firth, 93.7 The Ticket.
So if you're just now joining us,
What are you
Strick doesn't
doing,
believe
Strick?
that 13 points is double digits.
He doesn't believe 10 points is double digits. What are you doing, Strick?
No.
13 points ain't double digits.
14, my boy.
It's 10
You
or more.
want 2 touchdowns.
Double digit. Double
Make
digits.
a different bet with him that
No,
they
it's
won't
good.
win by 2 touchdowns.
Yeah.
I'll take the double digit
They gotta
one.
win 11. They got to be by 11.
Okay, whatever.
Double digits is 10 points.
I'm gonna put an asterisk
Okay,
next
10 and a
to
half.
his.
Double digits is
10
10
and a
points.
half.
No, I'm going to put double digits. That's what we shook on.
What are you doing?
The
You have
chicken wings
You
are on
gotta
the line.
negotiate. Got to negotiate.
You're already shook. You got to negotiate before you shook.
Yeah, come on. You got to be
Okay,
smarter
come on,
than
you're
that.
better
You
than
gotta
that.
you got to remember double digits is 10 points.
You're better than that.
I'm not taking that, though. I think Ohio State wins, but double digits, I don't know. Ohio State just hasn't looked that good. Straight up. They just
I
haven't
have
looked
I have zero problem. I have.
You're just saying that because you put money on Ohio State to win.
No. I just
They're
think
not
Ohio-
beating Georgia, I'm telling
No,
you.
no,
right
no.
now.
I don't
No
think so
one's
either.
beating
I don't think
Georgia.
so either.
Remember,
But
like,
I think that them and Georgia are on a pedestal.
remember when Georgia barely won against somebody, and
Tennessee gets back in.
and we said that Ohio State was the best team in the country. I was
Tennessee
like
gets back
5
in.
weeks in. You think so?
Tennessee gets back in.
Technically, Vegas is favoring that. So I don't know if you guys saw this today. I sent it to
Did you
Strick.
know there's a way? I did it all in my head. There's a way Alabama gets back into the playoff.
Negative.
Well,
out.
that could happen. Me and Strick.
It
Okay.
is. It does.
There's a
happen.
way.
I know. Out.
Do you guys
I
want to
don't-
hear the
I'm
favorites?
selling that.
So Georgia is minus 4,000 to make the college football playoff.
Ohio
Ohio
State.
State is minus 650. Coming at third is Tennessee minus 250. So heavy favorites. to make
so
the
here's
playoff.
this.
Have you
Get
seen their
this.
remaining schedule?
Who is it?
I think they have, if I'm remembering it's them correctly, Arkansas, some cupcake,
Win.
and then Texas A&M.
Yeah.
Well, the
Win.
problem is you need someone to lose.
Well, so here's the deal.
I guess,
Well,
which is
someone
Michigan,
is losing.
Michigan or
But-
Ohio
so
State.
then here's the deal: is you pair the 2 1-loss teams. Let's look at TCU's
TCU's still
remaining
undefeated.
schedule.
What
They
do
have,
you do with-
they have Texas this weekend.
They'll beat Texas.
That's their
They'll
wor-
beat
that's
Is
their
it at
hardest.
Texas?
I don't know.
They'll beat Texas.
That's
Okay,
their
that's
their
what you
hardest
said.
game remaining. But
That-
then whoever
you're
they
a
play
big
in the
viewers guy. I know what you're thinking over there.
whoever they
It's-
play in the
here's the
Big
deal.
12
Strick likes
championship.
Quinn
game.
Ewers.
I don't know if they win this weekend against at Texas.
This is the perfect storm for
I don't
TCU to
think so.
falter.
or and
Yes.
then they also have at Baylor.
You know, out of the top
Nah, they'll
6,
take
they have
Danger,
the
Will
low-
Robinson.
they have the
Danger.
lowest
Nah, they'll take care of
odds
Baylor.
at plus 800.
Danger, Will
The
Robinson.
This
lowest
is-
odds are the top 7.
This is going to be their toughest game remaining.
Here's the deal.
I hate you guys.
Here's where people feel about TCU. And this is according to FanDuel as of today. Future bets for national champion winner. to win the national championship.
Right now, futures now.
Yeah, right
Not from
now.
the beginning, but
Not from the
now.
beginning,
Right
but
now.
right now.
Okay.
Georgia minus 120. Ohio State plus 150. Michigan plus 800.
Ooh, I bet that.
Tennessee plus 1400.
Oh, I take that one.
I would take
That would be the steal.
Hundo
Here's
on
this.
that?
That would be the
Oregon.
Hundo.
Oregon plus 2500.
If you look at Heisman odds,
Ouch.
Bo Nix, number 5.
LSU.
Oh my
Here's-
God!
no, no, no.
There they go.
Here you go.
What are we doing?
That's
LSU.
the one.
There it is. There's the Rico we
Yeah.
know.
LSU plus 4000.
I'm not touching that.
I'm never touching that one.
2 losses. They're going to be in the SEC championship game if they go undefeated.
That's wild.
Or not undefeated if they go their last 3 games. They win the last 3.
Those are your top 6 bets, or in terms of odds
Okay,
right now.
give me your outs and give me your ins. If
What do you mean
were
by
a
what?
betting man?
Georgia,
Which one-
Michigan, TCU,
You're
Oregon.
betting TCU?
Are we talking value wise? TCU
No,
is
no
plus
value.
8,000
Or no, who you
to
think
win the national title.
Negative. I can't.
Who do
go
you
with
think?
TCU.
Well, I think it's going to be Georgia, Ohio State.
I do too. And
I'd
are we
go
talking
Michigan.
top 4?
Yeah.
Georgia,
Top 4.
Ohio State, Michigan.
I don't think Michigan. and Ohio
I
State
think
get in.
One of them is out.
Oregon. I'll do Oregon as my third. And it's either
Oh,
going to
yeah,
be
you will.
LSU or Tennessee. I think
Tennessee.
LSU might get in. If they win the SEC championship, you're going to.
They're not going to beat Georgia.
Wouldn't that be something? If they
See,
did?
I think so. No, here's
Wouldn't that
here's
be
what I
something?
think.
They
Here's
have to put 'em in.
Here's the final 5
Brian Kelly
in my
could get
eyes.
it done.
Your boy.
You a lie. You wild.
Hold on,
I'm not on camera.
I'm gonna pull this up here.
I can say what I want.
Okay, so here's
I'm over
here's
here like this.
here is my final 4:
Pinky in the brain.
Georgia, Ohio State, Tennessee, Michigan.
See, I knew you knew.
2 and 2.
You guys.
I think
So Oregon loses to.
I think
If-
Oregon.
see, but the thing is,
so the Pac-12
I think the
title game
Pac-12
is
is going to
interesting.
get someone in if Oregon and USC take care of business the remainder of their schedule. So I don't think
No.
they play each other.
No,
If they take care of business, whoever
Schedule.
wins that Pac-12 championship,
they're not sexy. I go Big 12 before I go Pac-12.
I would go. Yeah, I think TCU and Oregon will be the
mean,
first 2 out. Actually, no, I don't think because I actually think TCU will lose.
Who would
their
have
next
the
Big
higher
Ten
strength of schedule?
the Big Ten schedule is not
Would
sexy either.
TCU technically
it's
have a
better.
higher strength of schedule?
It's better.
Because they've played 4 ranked opponents.
Exactly.
and won
It's
all. of them.
way stronger.
But it
What
was
would that
Who's
be?
Oregon
but-
played?
The
but
football power
Nobody.
index.
Here's the deal.
Okay.
One person,
Okay.
and they're helping Georgia right
Here,
now.
But
hold
here's
on,
the
let's
deal.
find-
If-
UCLA
let's find
they
out.
smacked UCLA.
But here's the deal: if
They
TCU,
beat BYU, they beat UCLA,
Are you serious?
and they play. Stop. Those 2 are ranked number 12 and number 9. They play Washington this
BYU
week,
ain't
number
ranked anymore.
25. They play Utah,
yeah,
number
BYU's
13 the
bad.
week after.
Those are just
BYU
throw
is
in the
bad.
top 25.
Yeah,
just
BYU
cause.
is
Get the
bad.
heck out of here.
we might as well put Notre Dame and Marcus Freeman in the
Exactly.
playoff.
Well,
Notre Dame's in the top 25 now.
They are.
they're
They're
20th.
20th. BYU is not ranked. BYU is not good.
But they
BYU
were
is
ranked.
bad.
They were ranked at the time.
Oh gosh, here we go.
But here's the deal.
What?
The Air Force in there too. Why not?
Right.
Why not at this point?
Colorado
So-
State too.
Let's see who Ohio State's.
Okay, so here's an interesting. Who's in if LSU wins the SEC?
LSU's in.
LSU is in.
Tennessee would be out.
Ohio State.
Tennessee's out.
Ohio State would move up to number 1.
Yeah.
Then it would be probably
Georgia 3.
Then it'd probably be Tennessee,
Do you think they both?
LSU.
They won't.
No,
put
they
three
won't put
SEC.
them.
Okay.
They
So
won't put
because
Do you think Georgia stays?
Georgia would stay.
Georgia would say.
So Georgia, LSU, because you can't take the
Georgia,
loser of the
LSU,
SEC and
Ohio
not take
State,
the winner.
and then TCU or Pac-12 champ if it's
Right.
USC or Oregon.
You want to talk about
going
scheduling?
Big
Who's,
12.
who's Ohio State played?
Nobody.
Exactly.
But they got to play Michigan.
Okay.
I mean, that's a
Oregon has
top
to play
4.
Utah.
Oh god.
That's a top 15.
Oh my God.
That's a top 15.
Are we comparing Michigan and Utah right now?
I am now.
And you're
Oh,
sitting here
God.
condoning this foolishness right now.
What? I want to tell you
Goodness.
something.
It's
Hop
unreal.
off Bo Nix.
You guys are just mad because Oregon's going to be in the
Stop
playoff.
swinging from Bo Nix.
You're just mad because I was right at the beginning of the
And
season
let
when
me
I
tell
said Bo
you-
Nix was my
and
dark
here's the
horse
deal.
Heisman.
You did.
You,
Well,
guys laughed at
cannot
Stetson Bennett.
say. You cannot say.
Stetson Bennett's
now
not
here's the
competing.
deal. Ohio State has not played a hard schedule, but they have not played the easiest schedule like maybe a Michigan has. They played Notre Dame, who at the time was ranked top 10.
Oh, now we're going at
But-
the time.
No.
Now
Now
it's at the time.
At the time, but now they're 20th in the country. So whichever way you want to talk about it, they're still playing a ranked team, and they beat Notre Dame 21-10. Then they kick Arkansas State's butt 45-12. They kill Toledo 77-21. They kill Wisconsin 52-21.
Fire their coach.
They literally the teams. Here's the
deal.
deal.
They beat Rutgers. Congratulations. Oh, they beat Michigan State. Congratulations.
You
beat
know
Iowa.
damn well that
oh,
Nebraska
you beat Penn
was-
State.
you know-
you only put up 21 points against Northwestern.
Michigan
you want
State
to
just beat
talk about
Illinois,
what are
who
you
slammed
talking
us.
about?
You know damn well that if Nebraska was in Ohio State's spot, our defense into the strength of schedule conversation would be, well, you beat the teams you were supposed to beat in very convincing fashion.
Oh, so you want to say that, but you don't want to say that for Oregon?
No, the argument
Because
here.
the Pac-12 sucks.
You're
Wow,
not-
but they beat the people in front of them. You can't play both sides of the
You're
fence.
missing the
teams.
argument, Nick. You're missing the easy argument. Is that Michigan and Ohio State have to play each other? Oregon's not going to play a top 4 ranked team in the country this season. And when they did, they got beat by what, 30?
This is the first game of the
How
season.
bad did they get beat by Georgia?
They also
30?
oh I forgot about that one.
Yeah. So the only team they're playing the top 4, they got
It was
slapped.
worse than 30. It was 36.
Oh my god.
49 to 3.
Smacked. Oh my god.
They made
49
they
to
made
3.
49
Bo
to 3.
Nix
Oh my
look
god.
like a little
And he
niggity
still
nugget.
and he still might win the Heisman.
He looked like a
And
little
he's
chicken McNugget.
and he still might win the Heisman.
Let's check out let's check out Heisman odds before we
good.
get out of here.
Stetson Bennett.
They got Washington,
Oh,
Utah,
God.
and Oregon State.
I'm glad I'm not on
Undefeated.
camera right now.
Here we go. Heisman odds as of November 7th at 6 p.m. CJ Stroud is number 1.
Facts. Easy.
They only put up
Hendon-
21 points against Northwestern.
Hendon Hooker is
Virginia
number
Tech
2.
alumni.
Number 2.
Virginia Tech alumni.
Blake
strip.
Corum is number 3.
Oh, he's going to steal some votes.
Caleb Williams is number 4.
What?
Yeah, I don't.
Drake May is number 5.
Drake May is kind of nice.
Stetson Bennett
UNC
is number
quarterback.
6.
Ugh.
Bam.
Jaden Daniels is number 7. Bo Nix is number 8. Get out of here with the Bo Nix crap.
So when Adrian Martinez was number 8, we were celebrating it. But when Bo Nix is
No,
number 8, all of
no.
a sudden we hate it.
Let's remember this. You called Stetson Bennett trash.
He is.
And who's higher in the Heisman rankings?
Stetson Bennett is
Who's
still trash.
higher? Nick, please read it for me again. Stetson
All
Bennett's
right.
where?
So here we go.
If
And
Oregon
where's
doesn't
Bo
have-
Nix?
if Oregon
No,
doesn't-
no. Thank you. And where's Bo Nix? 8. But Stetson Bennett's trash.
Well, if Oregon doesn't have that loss, he's higher up.
Who did he lose to?
That's-
Stetson Bennett.
No, he lost to Georgia. He didn't lose to Stetson Bennett.
my God.
Stetson Bennett is
Stetson Bennett's elite.
intermediate.
Elite. Thank you.
You don't know what the word elite
Intermediate.
means.
Elite.
No way.
You don't know what that word
says
means.
Eli Manning's elite.
You can't spell elite without Eli.
Oh, here we go.
It's true. Try spelling
Eli
Try
Apple.
spelling. Try spelling elite without Eli.
Eli Apple.
Try it. Try
Yeah,
spelling elite
trash.
without Eli. Strick.
Trash.
Try it. Go ahead.
can't,
You
'cause
can't.
it's trash.
Because you can't.
I can just spell
All right.
trash.
You know,
So
at one point,
a
Joe
chicken-
Flacco was elite. So.
A chicken wing
That
bet
is
has
true.
been made that Ohio State will beat Michigan by double digits,
11.
which is 10 points or more. So if Ohio State wins by 10 points, I win the bet.
No, if they win by 11.
If they win by 10 points, I win the bet. And Rico and Strick
He's
owe
trying
me
to get the
chicken
last
wings.
word.
All
You
right.
little sucker.
Double digits. That's all it
You
is.
heard it by 11.
I can't wait for CJ
Stricken.
Stroud to throw all over them and Marvin Harrison, the best wide receiver in the country, to go for 120.
Blake Corum, 180 and 2 touchdowns.
I'm with you, Rico.
That's a joke. All right, we're out of here.
Face is a joke.
Strick and Nate's coming up next. Wow.
Adios.
Are we in third?
Your home should not be a zoo to unwelcomed animals. Let the experts at Bats to Rats take care of those problems. Dane has been a leader in wildlife and pest management and prevention in Lincoln and the surrounding area for 15 years. He can help you get rid of bats, rodents, and anything else. Whether it's residential or commercial buildings, schools, apartments, or churches, they're always a phone call away. Call today at 402-310-0904 or visit batsterats.com. Bats to Rats Wildlife Control and Prevention.
Trendy or traditional, Gary Michaels Clothiers specializes in men's tailored clothing. Off the rack or custom made to measure, there is simply no better shopping experience. Offering designer furnishings,